Yeah, jabronis, is a Verd back with you again, and we are here for my recordings a little bit late of APAC Week 1. Of course, if you didn't know, part of the Floaroma Florges, James Katsaros's team, and we are playing against Fumito, who is on Nicholas Bingham's team, which is the Crasher Wakes, I believe. So a bit of backstory into this matchup, and like how the week was planning out. So it's similar to like League Wars and whatnot. And it was actually, so we had 7 players on each team face each other, and we were at 3-3 heading into this game. So me versus Fumito decided the entire whole kit and caboodle. So pretty insanely hyped up game. I just had to win. That was literally the way I saw it. Was I just had to win. That's all I could do. So I brought pretty much the team that I've been using a lot lately. It's kind of, I don't want to give away any sets because I like using this team a lot, but it's a really fun team. Change up a few things from other things I've used in the past. Just I really liked Gengar. I wanted to give it a try in this game, but Fumito apparently was like top 4 at a Brazil regional or something. I don't know what it was. I can't remember if it was a Brazilian IC or whatever. So he's a very good opponent, and he's running pretty much standard Zerndon. It is the most standard Zerndon I have seen. So I was feeling pretty good though, because my matchup against Zerndon isn't bad, because X-Ray, Ray beats Don, which is always good. Ray can handle up against Mence as well. And a big deterrent to his team is the fact that I have Celesteela, so there's a potential for Wide Guard to shut down Groudon going for Eruption, which means that my Celesteela just walls his 2, like 3 of his mons. It's kind of insane. So yeah, I was feeling pretty good about this, but I knew that his Xerneas setting up could be an issue, even though I have a Gengar, a Celesteela, and a Finny. I knew. I knew that it was going to be interesting, so we're just going to jump in to this game though. And I'll kind of give my analysis as home goes, because a little bit of backstory. I did try and record this game. I tried to record this game last. I tried to record this game when it actually happened. I did it live and I forgot to hit record, so it was fucking embarrassing. And I'm recording it now. So I lead Gengar Xerneas, and he leads Xerneas Amoonguss. So I know straight up what's pretty much going to happen on turn 1 is that his Amoonguss is going to Rage Powder, and his Xerneas is going to Geomancy. Like, it is very, very obvious. So I'm contemplating what I want to do here. I know the Rage Powder is coming, so I decided to Z-move. Get off a really good amount of chip. And I just G up myself. So I'm in a pretty good spot here because I know that the Amoonguss has the chance to just go for Clear Smog and disrupt my own Xerneas. I know that his Xerneas has no way to knock out my Gengar, and the worst he can do is Moonblast my Xerneas. And it looks like he's faster too. So that's definitely a threatening proposition. But the way I was looking at this was, is the Amoonguss in range of Shadow Ball into Dazzling Gleam? Because that's what I was thinking of doing, because I get chip on Xerneas that way, and it's pretty solid. So he actually decides to double out an Instant on it. I was like, okay, sure. And he protects Xerneas. I was like, okay, fair enough. I just Moonblasted into the Instant slot because fucking free damage. And it turns out that he's not Berry. Now what I should have done is actually Sludge Bomb the Amoonguss slot there, only because if I Sludge Bomb the Amoonguss slot on that turn, then if I Sludge Bomb the Amoonguss slot on that turn, then I pick up the Instant on this turn, which would have been good and bad. It's kind of bad because if I did that and I picked up the Instant, then Amoonguss comes back into like full health pretty much and can just Rage Powder again. That's super annoying. But this is still okay, because I know he's going to fake out my Xerneas, so I don't even try and protect it. I take the Dazzle like a champion. I disable his Dazzling Gleam, and then I'm able to Sludge Bomb, and I believe I nab a Poison. This is huge, obviously, because it's going to give me a good advantage against this Xerneas. I know that he's just going to protect there, so I can just knock that thing out. If I had sub on Gengar, I 100% would have clicked it that turn, but I kind of knew that he had to move. So why this positioning is really good for me is that Dazzle now basically picks up his Xerneas, and he has to Moonblast my Xerneas in order to pick it up at this point. So I can just protect my Xerneas, and I can protect my Gengar, because I know that he's probably just going to Rage Powder into attacking, and I can get some extra Toxic Chip. And now it's a position of like, right, the Amoonguss is going to probably Rage Powder, but at this point his Xerneas is in range of Dazzling Gleam into Poison Death. So realistically, all I need to do is just get a bit of chip on his Amoonguss, and I'm looking pretty golden, because I'm pretty confident his last Pokemon is Groudon, and I have Rayquaza in the back. So Xerneas is pretty much dead, and if it's Amoonguss plus Groudon in the back, I feel pretty confident with Rayquaza just to clean the game up anyway. As he does Rage Powder, he's going to Moonblast, and he's not going to pick me up though, so I'm going to be able to Moonblast his Amoonguss, and from this range, the Amoonguss is at 35 to 37. We know that Z Shadow Ball did about, what was it? Oh, let me go back up and check. Z Shadow Ball, Never Ending Nightmare, did 54 to 56. So, if Z Shadow Ball, which is what, like base 160 from Shadow Ball, was doing that much, I don't think Sludge Bomb was able to kill, but it didn't need to. I just needed damage on Amoonguss to force a swap or something. But I get pretty lucky and get a crit here. Definitely ends up mattering, because obviously he goes into Groudon, but that turn just fucking sucks for him. 100%. He's no longer disabled though, so you can just Gleam and pick up both of my Mons. I'm kind of okay with this, because I know that this turn I can just double protect again, and basically just secure that the Zern dies. Groudon could SD, could be like a threat that way, but he just decides to P-Blades. Fair enough play from my opponent. I know that in this position here I can just sack both of these guys, as the Xerneas will then drop on the next turn to its Toxic, because I got that Poison, which was very fortunate. And obviously now I can just go into Sally plus Ray and wrap up the game, just because, you know, I have Rayquaza with Earth Power. So I can just easily EP the Donny. He goes for Precipice Blades, just to, I guess, scout. I just go for Leech Seed. Now, one important thing that I didn't reveal with Celesteela is a hidden tech that I have on it. I didn't want to reveal the Wide Guard, because Eruption was going to do nothing at this point, so like I just wanted to EP again and pick up Groudon. I think he went for Precipice Blades because he didn't want to reveal whether he was Eruption or Fire Punch, because he knew the game was lost. So we win first game, which is wicked. So off to a really good start. I was feeling really happy with how I played. Obviously I got a little bit lucky because I got the Poison on the Zern, which definitely made it easier to wear down. And also, you know, critting the Amoonguss at the end there was pretty hype. Although I feel like with Ray plus Selly in the back, I'd chip down the Xerneas anyway into the range where I could kind of pressure it. And because I disabled Dazzling Gleam, I could put a lot more pressure on with my Mons. And even if Amoonguss was on a little bit of health, then obviously anything on my team can pick it up and then threaten the Xerneas afterwards. So that was kind of the way I was looking at the game from that point. So definitely a good first game. And we're going to look at the Game 2. So it's basically best of 3. And so in Game 2 here, obviously same matchup. I was trying to think of like, do I want to lead anything different? Because obviously I feel like he's going to predict Gengar lead. He might, you know, bring Incid, and I was like, you know what, I don't think I need to bring Gengar this time. Gengar did its job in the first game, was really disruptive. I think because he knows about that, he's going to try and play differently around it. So I decided instead, I think it was to lead, I think it was Finny? I lead Ray and Zern. Okay, so I just went balls to the wall. I have Finny in the back and Celesteela for this matchup. Because Celesteela is still just amazing against Zerndon with Ray support. And Finny, this time I decided to bring over Gengar because it's a bit more of a deterrent. It doesn't have Scold to beat the Don, but it doesn't need to. It has a lot of other tricks up its sleeve. So I leave double restricted because in this situation, it's like, right, if your Amoonguss is focus sashed, then what I can just do turn 1 is Dragon Ascent into Amoonguss and Dazzling Gleam. And I can pick that fucker up. And that's exactly what happens. I just Dragon Ascent this Amoonguss, bring it down to Sash, and then I proceed to Dazzling Gleam. If he was Cobra Berry Amoonguss, depending on how much like physically defensive investment he possessed, then I would have picked him up regardless with the Dazzling Gleam afterwards. So it didn't really matter too much at that point. Oh my god. Sorry, I just had a bit in my eye. So yeah, I pick up the Amoonguss turn 1, and I was like, shit, yeah, he goes for P-Blades and gets off an okay chunk against my Xerneas. So he goes into his own Xerneas, and I'm like, right, so now he basically is just going to go for Geo into what I assumed was Groudon going for another P-Blades. So I decided to go hard out to Celesteela and Earth Power. So the reason I do this is because I think him going for P-Blades and Geomancy is the most obvious play of all time. I genuinely do believe that is the most obvious play that my opponent could make. In this situation, he just dazzles, and dude, my Ray just tanks that shit. He doesn't give a crap, and he does just P-Blades. So I never know what this Groudon has other than P-Blades at this point of the game. He goes into Incin, and I'm like, alright. He protects Xerneas. I just go for EP again, free chip on Incin for me, and I go for sub with Selly. So Selly is now in. This is sick. So instead of having Wide Guard, I have sub on the Celesteela. Which turns out to be really, really solid. Behind a sub, obviously Fake Out won't affect me from Incin, and Xerneas here is just... So he in his mind, he's like, right, I can just Fake Out Geo, sure. So what I do here is I go hard out to my Tapu Fini, and he's just going to Geo up with his Xerneas, as pretty much I anticipated him to do. And I just fire off a Leech Seed on his Incin, as he's going to Z move to break my sub. So the fact that he has to force himself into a Z move to break my sub out of desperation is amazing for me. Because in this position, he's in between a rock and a hard place with his Xerneas. Because both of the Mons on the field are going to shut down that Xerneas. Finny obviously has access to Haze. The reason why Haze is amazing too is because if I Haze, then I remove the attack drop on my Celesteela. But I'm just going to choose to protect because I have no reason not to. He's just going to dazzle. Obviously, my Finny tanks that shit. I can Haze. And now, because I can get my health back, I'm in a position where, like, he's in trouble. I can just double back into my Xerneas here, expecting him to want to, like... I didn't expect him to blitz. If I'm perfectly honest, I expected him to just want to U-turn out, which is why I went to my Xerneas. What I should have done that turn instead of light screening probably was just going for Heal Pulse onto my Xerneas. But as you're going to see, your boy is going to go hard into Rayquaza. I know that Dazzle, I'm pretty sure, picks up both of his Mons here. But I'm just going to protect my Xerneas as he does his reveal P-Blade. So this positioning is really good for me because with the light screen up, in this situation, his Xerneas, after I set up... His Xerneas' Moonblast can't kill my Xerneas, and I can set up a Geomancy. So I'm like, shit, yeah, let's do this. We EP to knock out the Incin, because like, if Donnie's on that side, I'm picking me out regardless. As you see, Dazzle does not pick me up at all. So Moonblast would have killed, but he chose to Dazzle. I'm able to just Geomancy for free. He goes into Don. At this point, the game's over, because I can Earth Power his Groudon and Moonblast his Xerneas. No matter what... I'm going to be able to knock out his Groudon, unless his Xerneas is able to tank the Moonblast. But even if it tanks the Moonblast, then I still have Tapu Fini in the back. Even if he tanks the Moonblast with his Xerneas, my Rayquaza will still outspeed his Groudon. So he'd have to protect his Groudon, and then his Xerneas is taking the Moonblast, and Xerneas is choosing to Dazzling. He can't Dazzle to pick up both, so he has to Moonblast to pick up my Xerneas. But if he does that, or he can Moonblast pick up Ray, but then my Xern's at like good health and can just Dazzle and pick up both. So pretty much the game was checkmated, and I win. So yeah, because of that, we end up winning the entire set. So we win 4-3 overall, and we get a week 1 victory for the Floaroma Florges. So I was really happy with how I played. I felt obviously the second game I felt way more in control. I just the combination of Finny plus Celesteela really just shuts down Xerneas that play against this team. So I felt pretty confident using it in that way heading into this game. Few plays that I look back on it, I'm like, damn, I could have made a better play, but it is what it is. Really happy with how that went. I might go more in depth into this stuff maybe afterwards. I definitely just want to don't want to go too in depth now because obviously I'm playing opponents in the future and I may want to use this team again. So we'll wait and see how that goes. But yeah, really happy with that. Nice win. I'm getting benched for week 2, so hopefully the team can pull out a nice victory, but we'll see what happens. My name's Averd. I'm out this bitch.